Hey, Bob James here from Daily Enduring Truth, and I'm standing out around a very important place in my life. It's the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Center. And I know the sign looks backward, but it's the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Center of Corpus Christi. It's important, and this is the building back here. It's now the Susan Tiller building, named after the founder. And it's an important building to me because when we moved to Corpus Christi over 34 years ago, that's just amazing to me that we've been here that long. One of the first places my wife volunteered was here at the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Center. She knew a little bit about sign language. She had interpreted in church, and she said, you know, maybe I can do some things here for the people. And what she got was a great education. She began by helping the senior citizens and taking blood pressures and doing small medical checks like that. She was an EMT at the time, so she could do that legally. But then she began to learn how to be an interpreter, and Susan Tiller was one of those very important people in her life. My wife since then has gone on to some amazing things in interpreting. She is highest level interpreter in Texas. She is medically certified as an interpreter, and she now teaches sign language interpreting at Del Mar. She got her doctorate, and you know, I'm really proud of my wife, and I say that mainly because I want to just ask for a prayer for my wife this week. She will be undergoing surgery on Monday for a hip replacement. So just pray for her as she goes along. And just as I promised to pray for you and offer to go by your house or go by your webpage to pray for you, say a prayer for me as you look at this. Say a prayer for her, really, as you look at this. Now, I also chose the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Center for another reason. One of the stories today deals with Jesus. Some of those cars are loud. Deals with Jesus healing a deaf man. It's the second of the two stories we have. But in both those stories, we see Jesus actually addressing a far greater issue. The first, I believe, is an issue of racism. And that's when the woman who is Syrophoenician comes up and asks that Jesus heal her daughter because her daughter has a demon. And Jesus, well, there's a pretty rude response and basically calls the woman a dog. And I think there's a reason behind that. And I mentioned that in my writing. And I think the major reason is it was calling this woman's own attitudes and racist attacks on Jews into account. Now, again, that's my speculation, and I could be wrong. And then after Jesus heals this woman, he travels from Tyre and Sidon to the Decapolis, and there he's introduced to a man who's deaf. A number of his friends bring him to Jesus, and they ask Jesus to heal him. Now, I have some comments on the issues of disabilities, but we also see that Jesus took care of people with racial issues. He took care of people with disabilities. He cared about people of all types. Jesus was not just for the rich and the privileged. In fact, it was hard to be with Jesus if you were rich and privileged because you tended to count too much on your money, too much on your worldly things. So, just a quick overview of what's happening this week. Again, I ask you to pray. If these videos mean something to you, please feel free to subscribe so you get updates on them. And remember, the more subscribers I get, the more interesting things I can do. So, you all have a great week, and let Jesus Christ rule in your hearts. Let others see His grace in your life.